There is a truth that very few traders dare to face. You do not lose when the market becomes highly volatile. You lose when you cannot control yourself while the volatility is happening. It sounds simple, but think back for a moment. The last time the market started moving hard, candles were jerking non-stop. The spread widened. Everything became more alive than usual. At that moment, were you really analyzing, or were you just reacting emotionally? You tell yourself, this is an opportunity. This is the moment to make fast money. I can't miss this. But deep inside, the thing controlling you is not logic, but dopamine and the fear of being left behind. And that is exactly where every mistake begins. Not when you do not know how to analyze yet, but when you do know and still do not do what you know is right. Market volatility does not create a new person. It only magnifies who you really are. If you lack discipline, it will make you break discipline faster. If you lack patience, it will make you enter earlier. If you panic easily, it will make you close trades at the wrong time. And if you are a weak trader, then during volatile moments, you will almost completely lose control of your behavior. That is why there are traders who normally trade very well. But the moment there is one crazy market day, they lose the entire profit of the whole month. Not because they are not skilled, but because they did not prepare mentally for moments like that. And in this video, we are not going to talk about strategy, not going to talk about indicators, but instead, we will break down something far more dangerous. As 7 behaviors that weak traders almost always repeat every time the market starts becoming highly volatile. If you have ever experienced the feeling of opening the chart in a normal mood, but just 30 minutes later, everything becomes chaotic. You keep entering trades, opening and closing without control, and in the end, when you look back at your account, all that remains is silence. Then listen very carefully, because it is very possible that you will see yourself in every single behavior coming next. The first thing, and also the most dangerous thing, weak traders always rush into trades when the market starts moving hard. This is an almost automatic reflex. The moment you see price starting to move faster than usual, longer candles, stronger momentum, your heart starts beating a little faster, and a very familiar thought appears in your head. I have to get in now, or I'll be late. Sound familiar? You no longer wait for a complete setup. You no longer need a clear signal. You also do not care whether the risk-reward ratio is reasonable or not. You only need one thing: to be part of that move. And that is exactly when you are no longer trading, you are chasing the market. Imagine a very realistic situation. You are sitting in front of the chart. The market has been ranging for quite a long time. Everything feels boring. You have barely entered any trades. Then suddenly, a strong breakout candle appears. Price breaks out of the accumulation zone, runs 20 to 30 pips in just a few minutes. At that moment, what do you feel? It is not analysis, it is the feeling of missing out. You start thinking, damn, I'm on the sidelines. What if it keeps running? I have to enter now or I'll miss the opportunity. And you click. No plan, no confirmation, no waiting for a pullback. It is simply fear of being left behind. And ironically, right after you enter, the market starts slowing down. Then it pulls back. Then it hits your stop loss exactly. And after that, only then does it continue moving in the original direction. Have you ever gone through that? If yes, then you need to understand one very important thing. The problem is not in the market. The problem is in how you react to the market's movement. Strong traders are not attracted by fast movement. They are attracted by clear setups. Weak traders are the opposite. They do not need a setup, they only need the feeling that something is happening. And this is where dopamine starts interfering. Every time the market moves strongly, your brain sees it as a reward opportunity. It triggers excitement, just like when you play games or gamble. You are no longer thinking logically, you just want to participate. And that is why, the more volatile the market is, the worse you trade. The solution is not to be a little more disciplined, but to completely change the way you see it. You are not obligated to participate in every market move. You do not get paid for participating. You get paid for choosing the right moment. Remember this sentence: not entering a trade is also a trading decision, a very valuable decision. And sometimes, that is exactly the decision that helps you preserve your entire account. If you cannot fix this behavior, then everything that comes after will almost collapse. Because once you enter at the wrong time, every decision after that will be driven by emotion, and that is when the second behavior begins to appear. Weak traders always increase position size when the market is volatile. This is one of the most dangerous mistakes, but it is disguised very cleverly under the name taking advantage of the opportunity. You see the market moving strongly, you think, this is the time to make more than usual. The market is clear. It would be a waste not to go big. Opportunities like this do not happen all the time, and so you increase the lot size, not because your system allows it, but because your emotions say this is a rare opportunity. But you do not realize one thing: when the market is highly volatile, the risk also increases with it. The spread widens, slippage appears, the price structure becomes harder to predict, and most importantly, fast volatility means you have less time to think. But ironically, that is exactly when you place a bigger bet. Imagine a very familiar situation. On a normal day, you enter with 0.5 lot. Everything is stable, you think clearly, you accept the risk at that level. But when the market starts moving hard, news comes out, price jerks non-stop. You switch to 1 lot, or even 2 lots. Why? Not because you are more confident, but because you are being pulled into the market's rhythm. You feel that if you do not hit hard, then you are missing out on something big. And here is the key point. You are letting the market decide your risk level instead of deciding it yourself. Strong traders do the opposite. When the market is highly volatile, they usually reduce position size, or even stay out completely. Because they understand that, profit does not come from going big when you see an opportunity, but from surviving long enough to exploit a long-term edge. Weak traders are different. They do not think in long-term sequences. They think trade by trade, opportunity by opportunity, moment by moment where I could hit big. And that is exactly the mindset of a gamer, not a trader. Look a little deeper. Why do you want to increase lot size during volatility? The answer is not to make more money. The real answer is you want to feel like you are in control of the situation. When the market moves fast, you feel like you are falling behind, passive, out of rhythm, and increasing position size. And it gives you the feeling that I'm participating more aggressively. I'm not being left behind. But in reality, you are putting yourself in a far more dangerous position. Because when position size increases, every pip that moves is no longer just a number. It becomes psychological pressure. A small pullback can make you panic. A single opposite candle can be enough to make you doubt your entire analysis. And from there, the third behavior begins to appear. But before we get there, remember an extremely important principle. Position size is not a tool to make money fast. It is a tool to control risk. If you use it for the wrong purpose, then no matter how good your strategy is, you will still lose. A very clear example. There are 2 traders using the same system, same entry, same exit. One keeps position size stable. One doubles it when he sees a beautiful opportunity. Over 10 trades, they may have the same win rate, but it only takes one big losing trade for the second person to lose all the previous profits. Not because the system was wrong, but because the way they manage risk was wrong. And the scary part is, they often do not realize this immediately. They only think, I was unlucky. The market was difficult today. Next time, it will be better. But they do not see a very obvious truth. The way they increase position size already laid the foundation for that failure. And when you have already entered in a rush state, and on top of that with large size, then at that point, you are no longer trading. You are under pressure. Every price tick is no longer data, but becomes emotion. And that pressure, will drag you into the third behavior. Weak traders constantly change decisions when price starts jerking hard. This is when everything starts to break apart. You enter a trade, at first maybe you still remember the plan, where the entry is, where the stop loss is, where the take profit is, but the moment the market starts jerking hard, all of those things start to shake. Price moves a little in your favor, you think, maybe I should take profit early just to be safe. Price pulls back slightly, you think, maybe I should move the stop loss a little farther. Price goes deeper against you, you start panicking. Maybe I'm wrong, better close it and reduce the loss. And just like that, within a few minutes, you change your decision 3 times, 5 times, even 10 times. Not because the market has clearly changed structure, but because your emotions keep changing nonstop. Look closely at this. Weak traders do not lose because of one wrong decision. They lose because they keep violating their own decisions. A very familiar example. You enter a buy trade. The original plan, stop loss. 50 pips, take profit. 100 pips. Price goes up 20 pips, you see profit. You start being afraid of losing it, you close early at plus 20. After that, price continues straight up to the original, take profit. You look at the chart and blame yourself. I should have held. Next time, you decide that you will hold longer. You enter again. Price goes 20 pips against you, you think. It's probably just a pullback. You move the stop loss farther away. Price goes another 20 pips against you. You start getting tense. You do not close. You hope. In the end, the trade loses double the original planned amount. Do you see what is happening? It is not that you do not know how to place stop loss and take profit. You know. But you cannot hold on to that decision once emotion appears. And here is the psychological mechanism behind it. When the market becomes highly volatile, your brain shifts into survival mode. It does not care about long-term strategy. It only cares about one thing, avoiding pain right now. You see, profit leads to afraid of losing it, leads to close early. You see, loss leads to afraid of pain, leads to move the stop loss. Every action is a natural human reflex, but in trading, those reflexes are exactly what make you lose. Strong traders are not people with no emotions. They still feel fear, still worry, still feel tension. But they have a very different ability. They do not act based on those emotions. They accepted the risk before entering the trade. They clearly defined, if wrong, then how much to lose. If right, then how far to hold. And when the market starts jerking hard, they do not need to think again, because the decision was already made in advance. Weak traders, on the other hand, they make decisions while under pressure, and that is when everything becomes distorted. You no longer see the market as a chain of probabilities. You see it as a threat. Every candle is a psychological blow. Every price jerk is another moment when you want to do something just to feel in control. And that very need to do something has destroyed your entire original plan. Remember one very important sentence. A good trade does not need you to interfere constantly. If you have to keep fixing it, then maybe from the very beginning. It was never a good trade. And something even more dangerous, when you constantly change decisions, you will begin to lose trust in yourself. You will no longer know, am I right or wrong? Should I hold or should I close? Should I trust the plan or trust the feeling? And when that trust disappears, you will step into a very dangerous state, a state that most traders have gone through, but very few people realize it. That is the moment you begin trading in chaos. And from that state, the next behavior will appear. A behavior that erodes your account faster than any mistake before it. Weak traders start overtrading when the market becomes highly volatile. This is the phase where everything truly slips out of control. You no longer enter one trade, then wait for the result. You begin entering trades, closing them, then re-entering, then flipping direction, then entering again. In just 1 to 2 hours, you can execute 5 to 10, even 20 trades. It sounds active, but in reality, it is a sign of complete loss of control. Think back to a day when you traded badly. You opened the chart. At first, you only planned to take 1 to 2 trades, but after the first trade lost, you did not stop. You thought, I just need to recover it. You entered the second trade, lost again. At that point, it is no longer trading. It is revenge against the market. You entered the third trade. No more clear setup. No more patience. There is only one goal left, to take back what you just lost. And just like that, you get pulled into a loop. Lose to recover, to lose, to recover, to lose control. This is exactly the trap that many traders fall into, and especially when the market is highly volatile. Because volatility creates more movement, and you imagine that more movement equals more opportunity. But the truth is, more movement means more temptation. Strong traders understand that. They do not need all opportunities. They only need a few clear opportunities. Weak traders are the opposite. They try to catch every move. They do not want to miss any run. And the price they pay is losing their entire focus. A very realistic example. There are days when if you only took one single trade, the right setup, You could have ended in profit. But because you did not stop, you took 5 or 6 more trades after that. And by the end of the day, your account is negative. Not because the market was difficult, but because you did not know how to stop. And here's the most important point. Overtrading is not a skill problem. It is a self-control problem. You do not lose because you do not know how to analyze. You lose because you cannot say to yourself, enough, stop for today. Psychologically speaking, overtrading comes from 3 things. First, dopamine. Every time you enter a trade, you receive a stimulating feeling. Win or lose, your brain still gets hooked on that process, and you want to repeat it. Second, fear of missing out, FOMO. You see the market moving, you are afraid of standing outside. You think, if I do not enter, I will miss the opportunity. And you enter, even though there is no setup. Third, the desire for control. When you lose, you feel like you have lost control. And the fastest way to get that feeling back is to enter another trade. But ironically, the more you enter, the more control you lose. Strong traders are different. They set limits before they begin. For example, today, maximum 3 trades. If I lose 2 trades in a row, stop. If I hit my daily target, shut everything down. They do not wait until emotions appear before deciding. They decide in advance when their mind is still clear. Weak traders, on the other hand, always think, I'll be able to control it. But once they enter an emotional state, every rule gets broken. Remember this. The market never runs out of opportunities, but your account can run out very quickly. And if you do not learn how to stop, then no matter how good your strategy is, you will still lose over time. And once you have overtraded, once you have lost control over the number of trades, then it is almost certain that the next behavior will appear, a behavior even more dangerous than entering trades non-stop, because it makes you destroy your own account with your own hands. Weak traders start going big to recover after losses. This is the point where many accounts collapse, not because of one wrong trade, but because of one extreme emotional decision after a losing streak. At first, you only intended to trade normally, but after several losing trades in a row, a thought starts to appear. I just need one correct trade, and I'll recover everything. It sounds reasonable. It sounds very logical. But in reality, that is one of the most dangerous psychological traps. You start increasing position and size, not because the setup is better, but because you cannot accept that you are losing. You do not want to end the day in the red. You do not want the feeling of, I was wrong. You want to get back to balance as quickly as possible. And the fastest way is to go big. A very familiar example. You lose 3 trades, each trade is down 1R. Total, down 3R. At that point, if you continue following the plan, you only need 3 more winning trades to get back to break even. But you do not want to wait. You do not want to go through 3 more trades. You want to erase everything immediately. And so, you enter one trade with a position size 3 times normal, even 5 times normal. You think, if this one trade is right, I'm back to the beginning. But you do not realize, at that moment, you are no longer trading probabilities. You are putting everything on one single outcome. And that is exactly the definition of gambling. Strong traders understand one thing very clearly. There is no trade that can save an account. Only a correct process repeated many times can do that. Weak traders are the opposite. They are always looking for a saving trade. One perfect trade. One big opportunity. One all-in moment to get back. But the market does not work that way. It does not care how much you have already lost. It does not give you a chance to recover. It simply keeps moving. Psychologically, this behavior comes from something very deep, the ego. You are not just losing money. You feel like you are losing. You feel like you are not good enough. And you want to prove the opposite immediately. But the problem is, the more you try to prove it, the worse your decisions become. Because at that point, you are no longer looking for a good setup. You are looking for the feeling of winning. And those 2 things are not the same. One very important thing you need to understand. Losses are not the problem. Not accepting losses, that is the problem. Professional traders see losses as part of the system. They have already paid the market in advance. They know each trade is only a small part of a long sequence. Weak traders, on the other hand, every losing trade is a blow to their psychology. They cannot tolerate that feeling, and they do everything to escape it as quickly as possible, even if that means putting the entire account at risk. Imagine a scenario. You have already lost quite a lot during the day. You open one large trade. Your heart beats fast. Your eyes are glued to every price tick. Every pip that moves is a shock. If price goes your way, you feel like you have just been brought back to life. If price goes against you, you fall into a state of extreme panic. This is no longer trading. This is high-level financial stress. And in that state, you can almost never make the right decision. Whether that trade wins or loses, you have already lost something very important: psychological stability. And something even more dangerous, when you go big to recover, you are training your brain to believe that if I lose, then I can just go big and recover it. If one time you get lucky and recover, that habit will root itself very deeply, and next time, you will do it again. But luck is not always there, and it only takes one time when you do not recover for your account to disappear in a few minutes. Remember this: trading is not a game of getting it back. It is a game of survival and growth. If you enter the market with the mindset of, I must recover, then you have already lost before you click that trade. And when you have already fallen into a gambling state, already lost control over position size, over the number of trades, over your emotions, then it is almost certain that you will step into one final stage, a very dangerous stage, where not only your account, but also your confidence starts collapsing. Weak traders begin to lose direction and doubt everything when the market becomes volatile. This is the stage that many people do not realize, but it silently destroys you very deeply. You sit in front of the chart, but there is no longer a sense of clarity. You see a setup, but you do not dare enter. You enter, then start doubting. You close the trade, then feel regret. You stay out, then feel afraid of missing out. Every decision comes with hesitation, uncertainty, a feeling that you no longer trust yourself. Think back to a time when you were trading well. You looked at the chart. You knew what you were waiting for. You did not need to rush. You were not pulled around by every candle. There was a very simple clarity. The setup is not ready implies do not enter. But now, after you have gone through a losing streak, after breaking discipline many times, that state disappears. You begin to think, maybe my system is wrong, maybe the market is changing, maybe I am not suited to this way of trading. And from there, you start jumping from one thing to another, changing strategy, changing time frame, changing the way you enter trades, changing the way you place stop loss and the way you place take profit. Yet you are no longer consistent. You become chaotic. A very realistic example. Yesterday you were trading breakouts. Today, after losing a few trades, you switch to trading reversals. Tomorrow, when that still does not feel right, you switch to scalping. Then you go back to swing trading. Every day a different style. Every trade a different logic. You think you are being flexible, but in reality, you are losing direction completely. Strong traders understand that. Consistency matters more than being right on every trade. They can lose 3 to 4 trades in a row, but they do not change the system immediately. They understand that, within a probability sequence, losses are normal. Weak traders, on the other hand, cannot handle losing streaks. They need the feeling of being right immediately. And when they do not get it, they begin doubting everything. Psychologically speaking, this is the consequence of the fact that you have already broken your rules many times, failed to stick to your plan, constantly changed decisions, allowed emotions to control your actions. All of those things lead to one very clear result. You no longer trust yourself. And when you no longer trust yourself, every decision becomes difficult. You no longer have an anchor, no longer have a clear system, no longer have a process to hold on to. You only have a vague feeling. And in that state, you are very likely to do something extremely dangerous, which is abandon discipline completely or quit. Some traders will continue trading in chaos, slowly burning the account down. Others will close the chart and say, trading is not for me. But the truth is, the problem is not trading. The problem is in how you react when things do not go your way. Understand this. Market volatility does not make you lose direction. It only exposes that you do not yet have a strong enough foundation. If your system is clear, if your rules are strong enough, If you truly understand what you are doing, then no matter how volatile the market becomes, you will still know when to enter, when to stay out, when to stop. But if you do not yet have those things, then volatility will make you feel like you are lost inside a maze, and the harder you try to find the way, the more confused you become. This is one of the most dangerous stages because it does not only affect your account, it also affects your long-term confidence in trading. If you do not realize this, you may leave trading not because you lack ability, but because you have gone through too many negative states without understanding the cause. And when you have already lost direction, already doubted everything, then there is only one final step left, one final behavior that completes this entire chain of mistakes. A behavior that almost every weak trader will go through at least once. Weak traders will eventually quit or destroy themselves. This is not an immediate collapse, but a process. At first, you just feel tired, no longer interested like before, no longer feel like opening the chart every day. You begin avoiding looking at the account, avoid looking at the losing trades, avoid facing the truth that you have lost control. After that, you begin telling yourself, maybe trading is not for me, maybe I'm not disciplined enough, maybe I should stop for a while. It sounds reasonable, it sounds mature, but if you look deeper, many times that is not the right decision. It is a way to avoid the feeling of failure. Some traders do not stop. They go in the opposite direction. They dive into trading even harder, throw away all rules, throw away all money management, trade as if there's nothing left to lose anyway. And the result? You already know. The account blows up. Not because they know nothing, but because they have completely let go of control. But whether it is quitting or self-destruction, the common point is you have lost connection with yourself. You no longer understand what you are doing, no longer know why you are entering trades, no longer know what is right and what is wrong. All that remains is a chain of disconnected actions. You're in a very familiar feeling, exhaustion. And this is what very few people tell you. Traders do not lose because the market is hard. Traders lose because they do not understand how they react to the market. All 7 behaviors you just heard are not technical problems. They are not related to indicators, not related to strategy. They are related to something much deeper, how you handle emotion under pressure. Look back at the whole chain. The market becomes volatile. You rush. You increase position size. You break the plan. You overtrade. You go big to recover. You lose direction. You quit or self-destruct. These are not isolated behaviors. This is a loop that if you do not recognize it, you will repeat it again and again. But the good news is you can stop it, not by finding a new strategy, not by learning more indicators, but by recognizing yourself. Next time, when the market starts becoming highly volatile, do nothing at all for the first few minutes. Just observe, just feel, see what thoughts are appearing in your head. Do you want to enter immediately? Do you feel afraid of missing out? Do you want to trade fast and make money fast? If yes, then that is the signal, not a signal to enter, but a signal that you need to stop. Start with very simple rules. You are not required to trade every day. You do not need to catch every move. You do not need to recover immediately. You do not need to prove anything to the market. The only thing you need to do is survive long enough to become better. Trading is not a game for the fastest person. It is a game for the most stable person. Not the person who makes the most money in one day, but the person who does not lose control on the worst days. And if you truly understand this, then you will realize a very important truth. The moment you are no longer pulled around by the market, no longer reacting to every candle, no longer needing to do something all the time, that is exactly the moment you begin stepping out of the group of weak traders. Not because you trade more, but because you trade less and more accurately. Not because you make money faster, but because you stop losing money meaninglessly. And sometimes, the biggest step forward in trading is not adding one new skill, but removing the behaviors that are silently destroying you every day. If you have listened all the way to here, then ask yourself one final question. Out of these 7 behaviors, how many are you doing? Do not answer just to feel better. Answer in order to change.